Zoom, GoToWebinars, what else? Easy Webinar, Webinar Ninja. I mean, there's all kinds of webinar platforms out there, and there's even some new players. So if you want to do webinars, which I really think you should, if you're a writer, speaker, teacher, or coach, then which webinar platform is best? That's what we're going to look at on today's show. Welcome, everybody, to the Market Your Message show. I'm your host, Jonathan Milligan, and author of the book, Your Message Matters, How to Rise Above the Noise and Get Paid for What You Know. I hope you are having an awesome day. We're currently broadcasting in 6 locations live, depending on whether you're here with us live or not. If not, make sure that you join us every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So you can join us live. It's a lot of fun. I know we've already got some people here. By the way, let us know that you're here. Put your first name, where you're watching from. I see we've got April from Texas is here. She's saying hi. Phil in Richmond, Virginia. Mike is here from Cincinnati. Phil says, looking forward to Jekyll Island. Yeah, so at the time of us recording this, we are just literally 1 week away from our big annual event. It's a 2-day event called Your Message Matters Live. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got people coming in from all over. It's crazy. And we also have a lot of people tuning in virtually. They got a virtual ticket as well. It's going to be 2 days of helping you go from your passion to a profit plan. That's really the goal. And we're going to have a lot of fun. And you may have noticed the t-shirt I'm wearing. Some of you may have picked up on this. This is actually a t-shirt we created. So it's not out there. You can't buy it anywhere. We had this t-shirt designed and created. This is one of 3 or 4 t-shirts that we're going to have at the live event. You are going to be able to purchase one if you'd like one. I love this one, Wired to Create. Are you wired to create? I know I am. Whether that's, writing, blogging, creating a book, creating videos, doing live stream, teaching on a webinar. If you can't help but want to create and you're just wired to create, this is your community. This is the right place to be. It's going to be so much fun at our live event. I know many of you, I think April and Phil and Mike, many of you I've noticed, I've seen you on the list of attendees. Going to be so awesome. It's going to be fun. And yeah, would love to see some suggestions. Yeah, so we have a private Facebook group for everybody who's attending Your Message Matters Live. By the way, if you don't yet have your ticket, you still got 2 days from the time of this live recording. It's June 9th right now. You have until June 11th. We have to have a cutoff because we have to give the hotel the final count because we're going to be providing buffet style lunch for you both days. And also for those that are virtual, Friday's the cutoff because we're going to try to do our best to get you the physical workbook. I should have brought it, but we have a physical workbook that you're going to be working in. This is a workshop. This is unlike any conference you've ever been to because you're actually going to get work done while you're at the 2-day event. We're going to create space for you to work on exercises, get a chance to do some masterminding and learn from other people, get feedback from coaches or other people. It's going to be a lot of fun. So again, if you don't have your ticket yet, you can still go to yourmessagematterslive.com for 2 more days and grab either a virtual or in-person ticket. Awesome. Fred's here from Illinois. I know, Fred, I'm pretty sure you're going to be joining us as a virtual attendee. So we are glad you're coming as well. All right, gang. So we're going to jump right into it. I see Dallas is here. Dallas, glad you're here. He's here from Phoenix, watching over on Facebook. We're going to jump right into it today. So webinars. Last live session, and you could go back into YouTube. By the way, if you're not subscribed to the channel, just look up my name, Jonathan Milligan. Subscribe to our YouTube channel because we have all of our past live sessions here. But the last time I shared 5 webinar best practices, and that was a little bit of how I do a webinar. So how do you teach the what and sell the how? How do you provide value so much on a webinar that people will want to purchase your coaching, your membership, your live event, your online course? Go back and watch that. Okay. And we may even include a link below in the description on this, but that's 5 webinar best practices. What I'm going to do today, though, is share with you which webinar platform you should consider using. There's lots of choices out there. I've been doing webinars for over 10 years. I'm a webinar dinosaur. Yes, I used GoToWebinar as far back as 2010 was my first webinar. I remember I had 10 people sign up, 4 people showed up, 2 left before it was done. And I taught that webinar like there were 300 people on it. And you know what? I'm glad because I got to practice with 2 people. Now, they didn't know that they were the only 2 to 4 people watching, right? But it was perfect for me because if you have the heart of a teacher, webinars are fantastic. So what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to be scribbling on my iPad, and we are going to jump in. I'll give you just a preview. We're going to be jumping in, and I'm going to analyze for you 4 different platforms, some of the more popular ones: Zoom, GoToWebinar, EasyWebinar, Webinar Kit. I'm going to rank each of them for you. I've actually have been a customer of each of these in the past. And so I'm going to help you kind of break those down and understand which one you should consider if you see webinars as a potential online business building tool. And you should, by the way. One of the quick reasons I love webinars is because it does all the important elements of a business, an online business. Number one, it captures leads. So you grow your email list with a webinar. Number 2, you actually get a chance to do some teaching. It's a fast way to get people to know, like, and trust you because there's this reciprocal thing going on. If somebody is like, you're really learning from them, then it just makes it natural that you might be interested in their paid product because you've gained so much knowledge from them. And then number 3 is it produces sales. It's an opportunity to get people into all kinds of sales. I've done webinars where I have sold tickets to live events. I have sold high-end ticket coaching. I have sold one-on-one coaching. I have sold membership sites, online courses. Webinar can work for any of them. So we're going to dive into that today. I hope you're excited to be here. I see we got some more people. Glad you guys are here. So if you're new, we do a live recording of the podcast. That's why I got this microphone here so that we get a really good quality audio for the podcast. And this will be an edited down YouTube video. But stick around because after I do this teaching, I'm going to answer your questions. That's one of the great benefits of being here live. So let's get started. Zoom, GoToWebinar, EasyWebinar. There's so many different software options today. What is the best webinar platform for 2021? That's what we're going to talk about on today's episode. Let's get started. Hey, Messenger, welcome to the Market Your Message show. I'm your host, Jonathan Milligan, and author of the new book, Your Message Matters: How to Rise Above the Noise and Get Paid for What You Know. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about which one is the best webinar platform for 2021. Now, I'm a webinar dinosaur. I readily admit it. I have been doing webinars for well over 10 years. Yes, my first webinar was 2010. I've tested every kind of webinar software. I remember back in, I believe, 2012, I was testing a brand new webinar software, and I was interested in it because it was a little bit more affordable than some of the more expensive ones back in the day. And so I tested it. I signed up probably 200 people for the webinar. About 100 of them showed up. And it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare because the mute all button was not working. And can you imagine when 100 people are all talking into a microphone or their computer, or they don't even know that their microphone's on? It was so bad. I literally had to just shut the webinar down and send an email apology to everyone. I've had webinar fails. I remember I did a webinar with a bunch of influencers, and I said, I'll handle the webinar. And back in the day, we were just going to do a YouTube embed link into a landing page through Leadpages. Well, for whatever reason, it would not save and update it on the day of the webinar. And we had 500, 600 people on that webinar are trying to get the video to work on the webinar, and it was a fail. I've seen my shares of failures with webinars, and I've tested every platform. But today, what I want to do for you, and if you're listening to the podcast, I'm going to explain to you, but I'm going to be drawing on my iPad, and we are going to actually be looking at 4 different webinars. And I've been a customer at one point with each of these in the past couple years. So the first one we're going to look at is Zoom. Yes, you can do webinars with Zoom, not just doing meetings. We're also going to look at GoToWebinar. We're going to look at EasyWebinar. And finally, this may be one that you've never heard of because it's a new player that's out there, Webinar Kit. And what I want to do is I'm going to go through and actually try to look at this using a few criteria. Number 1, how are their registration pages? 2, what's it like to be a presenter? Is it easy to use? Is there ease of use for you to be a presenter? Or is it so complex that it throws you off of your ability to present? Attendee. How easy is it for the attendee to use it? Do they have to download a software to be able to get on and access it? Features. Are there the right kind of features that you're going to need to be able to teach and sell on a webinar? And then we're going to look at pricing. And then I'm going to total it all up. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a simple rating system, 1 to 3. 1 meaning not very good, 2 decent, 3 great. Okay, so let's go through each of these. Let's start with registration pages. So when it comes to registration pages, we're going to start with Zoom. I give Zoom a 1. And the reason why is there's not a whole lot of options. It's very boring, kind of corporate feel. It feels like you're just filling out a boring form. There's not a lot of pizzazz. There's not the ability to create an attractive page. So although Zoom is a really, really stable platform, and we'll talk about this in a second, when it comes to registration pages, I'm not a fan. The same is true for me with GoToWebinar. At least when I was using it, it's the same kind of boring registration page, not really meant to be a marketing tool. It feels more like a corporate, got to sign up for this thing that's happening on Tuesday kind of a page. EasyWebinar, I'll give it a 2. They give you a couple different options, but I do wish there was just a few more abilities to customize your registration pages. And then Webinar Kit, I really like Webinar Kit. They have different options, very easy to edit. You do not have to know code. You can make changes right on the interface, just like you're creating a document, and you could see the changes. So I'm a big fan of Webinar Kit's registration pages. Okay, what about presenter? As the presenter, you're going to need to feel comfortable using the software. And so how easy is it to use? Well, for Zoom, I give it a 3. Zoom is very easy to use. It is very stable, and it's got really good quality. It's easy to see that there's a share button, so you can share your presenter notes. You can share your screen. The chat is really easy to see and to manage for the most part as a presenter. GoToWebinar, this again, I'm going to have to give this a 1. This feels very complex. There are a lot of complexities there's a learning curve. Let's just say that. There's a learning curve as a presenter to know what you're doing and how to do it. EasyWebinar, I give this a 2. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I wish there was a little bit easier ways of doing certain things. Like if you want to show your presenter notes, you have to upload a document, like a PDF of the slides. That can be a little bit cumbersome, but yeah, overall, I give it a 2. Webinar Kit, I actually give this a 3. Super easy, super simple to do. Okay, attendee. What is it like for the attendee? The ease of use. Well, for the attendee, I give Zoom a 2. Now, it's not a 3 because sometimes it can still be a little complex. You have to click on the chat, and then it opens up a separate window, and then that window can be hidden, and it can be a little bit complex. So it's in between a 1 and a 2. I think there could be a better user experience there. GoToWebinar, as you can tell, I'm just not a fan of GoToWebinar. I think it's, I mean, you can obviously see, I think, I don't know if they fixed this issue. They probably have since I've used it, but you used to, if you've never used GoToWebinar before, you had to actually download a little piece of software in order, as the attendee, in order to even get it to work and to run. So that sometimes if you create barriers for your attendees, they give up. If you confuse, you'll lose. Okay, what about Easy Webinar? I give a 3 here. It's very simple. They don't need to download a software. There's nothing complex. They click on the button, boom, they're in the room. Same, I believe, with Webinar Kit. It works. It's efficient, simple to use. All right, features. Now, features, sometimes there can be feature bloat with software where they just add features that majority of people aren't using. Of course, that can happen, but they're all about the same. Zoom, I'd say it's a 2. It is always seem to be getting better. GoToWebinar, it's going to have what you need. Easy Webinar, also a 2. And Webinar Kit, it's a 2 because they're still in development of a lot of their ideas. Now, some of the features they have on their roadmap, I'm really, really excited about, but I still think they're a 2. All right, pricing. This is the big one that everybody wants to know. And the easiest way that I have kind of thought through the pricing is to find a standard across the board. So I went and looked at their pricing as of today on all of this software for 100 attendees. All right, so very, very basic plan. What's it going to take for you to, what are you going to have to pay that's going to allow you to have 110 attendees or up to 100 attendees to show up live in the webinar room? So for Zoom, it's about $40 a month. And I'll come back and I'm going to give a rating here in a second. But I guess $400 a year, you can save a little bit, $40 a month. GoToWebinar is around $59 a month for 100 attendees. Easy Webinar, you're looking at $78 a month. Now, one thing that I will say that Easy Webinar and Webinar Kit has that I did not include in this analysis is on-demand webinars. Now, I'm not a big fan of tricking people into thinking that webinars are live when they're not, but I do think it's smart to have on-demand webinars because we live in an on-demand world. Well, what's on demand? Well, when you put on Netflix, nothing's live. All this stuff has been pre-recorded. So you can use on demand, meaning somebody can register for a webinar, come watch it, and you're not teaching because it's a replay or you've already recorded it ahead of time. Easy Webinar and Webinar Kit, these last 2 that I'm talking about today, do give you that. GoToWebinar and Zoom do not. So if that's important for you, keep that in mind as well. And then Webinar Kit, it's $67, but this is a one-time charge. Now, it's a one-time charge to the on-demand. So they lead with their on-demand, but they have an upsell on the back end that says, hey, would you like to do live webinars? And for 100 attendees, it's only $29 a month. But again, this pricing may change. Webinar Kit is fairly new, and so I imagine their pricing is going to go up in the future. So if you're watching this now and you love the idea of either paying one-time cost for a webinar software or $29 a month for the live version, you want to go check out Webinar Kit for sure. All right, so what's my rating on 1 to 3 with these? So for pricing, I give Zoom a 2. I give GoToWebinar a 2. I give EasyWebinar a 1 because it's more expensive than the other options, although you do get the on-demand, so maybe I'm being a little harsh there. And then finally, I do give Webinar Kit a 3 because for some of you that just want to do an on-demand webinar, you pay $67 one time and you are good to go. There's nothing more to buy. You can record your webinar, upload it into the software, do the registration pages, do the whole thing, follow up emails, all of it's included. Okay, so let's total these up. So for Zoom, I give a total score of 10. GoToWebinar, I give a total score of 7. EasyWebinar is a 10. And a Webinar Kit is a 14. So you can see I'm a big fan of Webinar Kit. I actually, if you've been on any webinars in the past year, you have used Webinar Kit without you even knowing it. That is my webinar tool of choice. Not only is it affordable, it's easy to use, it's easy for the attendee, and it just works. It integrates with ConvertKit and many other email service providers. So I'm a fan of Webinar Kit. Now, I also think Zoom's great. I used Zoom for a couple of years. There's nothing wrong with using Zoom. You can certainly go for that as well, or any of these others. But I hope that gives you a better picture of how you can compare these different webinar software. Now, obviously, I didn't cover them all. This would make it way too long. And I do plan over on the YouTube channels to give more in-depth reviews of each of these individually. So I'll actually show you behind the scenes in Webinar Kit and possibly some of the others as well. All right. I hope that helps you know which are the best webinar platforms for 2021. And are there future topics or ideas that you would like me to cover in future episodes? Let me know. Also, if you're just getting started and you say, Jonathan, I don't even know who my audience is or what to build a business about, then I want to encourage you to go grab our best, most downloaded document. It's a 9-page blueprint called the Discover Your Message Blueprint. Just go to marketyourmessage.com/discover. All right. Well, that is it for this episode. And again, let me know what you'd like for me to cover on future episodes. Also, would you take a moment to like, share, subscribe, or even review our show? It would be greatly appreciated. But until next time, never forget, your message matters. Okay, so we will edit that down. That'll be a podcast, YouTube video, and future blog post. But I want to stick around and answer some of your questions right now. So by being here live with me for a live recording of this, you have the opportunity to ask me questions. So maybe you have questions about webinars. Maybe it's about something else. I'm going to take a few questions here for a few minutes as well. So let's see. Checking in with some people. Karen's here. She says hi. Hi, Karen. Glad that you're here. Dallas again's here from Phoenix. Shauna's here from Detroit. Welcome, Shauna. Jenny says, hey, all. Can't wait to see you next week. Yeah, Jenny's going to be there live in person at the live event. I'm so excited. Our team is working so hard. Whew. We just had another meeting today with the hotel. Many of you might be staying at our preferred hotel. They are excited about hosting us. It's a wonderful hotel on Jekyll Island. It's going to be a lot of fun for sure. Karen's from Idaho. Corey is here from Indianapolis. Corey, that's my old stomping grounds. I am a Hoosier through and through. I was born in Indiana. Lived in my high school years in Indianapolis. Still have family up in Tipton, over down in Jasper, and all over. I got aunts and uncles everywhere in Indiana. All right. Meg says, I miss the days of the flat fee software. Yeah, well, if you mean like one-time payment, then you want to check out Webinar Kit because they do have that going on right now as a fairly new player. they're really trying to build up their customer base. So they're getting, they're making some amazing offers right now. Here's a question coming in from Jenny. Are you able to skip to a specific part on the replay? I know some of you have to start from the beginning if you click out. Also, can you speed up the replay? Yeah, so if you're talking about this video right here, if that's what you're talking about, Jenny, you can. So if you're on Chrome, there is a, let me see, I got my second monitor here. There is an extension. So you can go to the Chrome store. So if you're using Google Chrome, and it is called Video Speed Controller. And what it does, and I do this all the time with courses or watching videos, it allows you to speed it up. So you can speed it up 1.5 or 2.0 as fast as you want it to go. So, oh, you're talking about with Webinar Kit. Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about this video. So let me look at your question again. So this is related to webinars. Gotcha. Okay. Are you able to skip to a specific part on the replay? I know some of you start from the beginning if you click out. Okay, so with webinars, if that's your question, you might want to try the same extension because more than likely it will allow you to do that. So let's say you sign up for somebody's webinar and they send out a replay link. You want to watch the webinar, but sometimes they don't allow you to fast forward. Webinar Kit does. I think it depends on some of the controls. So as the presenter, you can tell usually whether you want people to have the ability to fast forward moving it or not. But if you use this little kind of hack I just shared, go to the Chrome store, look up Video Speed Controller. It will add this little plus or minus on the kind of the top right over here, the top left-hand side of a video. It will show the ability to have a little plus and it'll speed up a video. So you might want to check that out. Phil, I think it was Webinar Kit that you mentioned both a one-time fee and monthly fee. Could you break it down again? Yeah, absolutely. So Webinar Kit leads with their on-demand webinar. It's also called Like Live, but basically what an on-demand webinar is you record a webinar yourself. Now, it could be maybe originally it was to a live audience, but it's literally like I'm in front of a video and I click it and I say, hey, everybody, welcome to today's webinar. Let's get started. And I just teach through my slides. So I'm recording a video. Then you have the ability to upload the recording of the video to Webinar Kit. And then you can set up registration pages. You can say whether you want the when they sign up, whether you want it to be like just on Wednesday at 1 o'clock is the only time you want this on demand to play so that they have a specific time to come watch it, or whether you want them to just go ahead and watch it the moment they sign up. So that piece, it still has the ability to have the chat function. It still has the ability to have a offer pop up. Have you ever been on a webinar and right at toward the end, a offer popped up with a button to click on? You can program that ahead of time. Webinar Kit will send out the reminder emails. All of them will, but Webinar Kit does. So you can say, I want a reminder to go out 24 hours before the webinar, 1 hour before the webinar, and the moment the webinar starts. You can also set turn on the replay emails where you can say, I want emails going out that take people to the replay page. So that I just described, the on-demand, you can get right now for just $67 one time. It will offer an upsell to do the live version, which is like I'm doing right now. And last I looked at it, it was $29 a month, but you got up to 100 attendees, which is pretty adequate or pretty, I would say, reasonable for most people. It's going to, and again, this is not, you could have 200 sign up, but it's only going to allow you to have 100 watching you at the same time. So for most people, you know, depending on where you are in your business, that works. So for just $29 a month, it's not a bad deal. All right. See what other questions you guys got here. I'm trying to figure out how to record my online course using my keynotes side by side with a video of myself talking. Do you know the best platform to use? Yes, that is Zoom, Faye. So with Zoom, you can have both your video and be screen sharing your keynote or PowerPoint. You can also record it. So what you would do is you would even need a webinar for that, because the webinar version of Zoom for that, because you're just recording it for your online course. So you could actually get the $14 a month plan for Zoom, and you're just going into a Zoom room by yourself. You're sharing your screen, you're keeping your video on, and then you hit the record button. And you can then record that piece of the online course, stop, let it download, right? And then you could start up another one. Well, actually now Zoom allows you to like start and stop multiple recordings. So the truth is you could do 4, 5, 6, 7 videos. And then when you get off the Zoom room, it's going to have those 7 or 8 recordings downloaded onto your computer. So that's the easiest way to do it, Faye, is I would use Zoom for that. And you probably asked this before I answered the question, but yes, the $67 one-time fee on Webinar Kit is for the on-demand version only. They give you an upsell to get the live, but yes, that is for on-demand. All right. Karen, do you have a coaching certificate? I keep getting notices about paying to be trained coach. Is it necessary to say you're a coach without getting certified? So this is always the big debate. And there's people on both sides of this issue, Karen. Here's what I would say. If it's in an industry that it's kind of important for legal protection, then maybe it's something you want to do. You know, you don't want to just start counseling people on depression and you've not gone through the proper training, right? At the same time, Anthony Robbins, you guys know him, Tony Robbins, one of probably the most well-known coaches. He's more on, personal productivity, high performance, some financial. So he's not a certified coach. So there's nothing that says, and the same was true for me when I started. So I wondered, my very first blog was a CPA career coach. So I was a career coach for CPAs. And I really wondered, are CPAs, our accounting professionals, especially accounting professionals who can usually be highly analytical and ask a lot of questions, are they gonna want me to be certified? And finally I decided that was stopping me from getting started. So I just said, here's my experience and I would love to coach you. You know what? I had this fear that didn't exist. I never had one person actually ask me if I was a certified coach for career coaching. So it depends is the answer to your question. But I would say in 75 to 80% of the cases, you don't have to be certified in order to coach. That's my opinion anyway. Let's see here. Meg says your webinars are always work great. It's nice to do webinars that you can view online without installing software locally. I completely agree. That's why I really love Webinar Kit, because it just works. It's just like you guys watching YouTube live right now. It's the same thing. You just click on the link and boom, I'm there. There's no software to install. All right. Meg, when you upload your video using Webinar Kit, who hosts the video? Does it go on their servers or your website servers? Great question. It goes on theirs. So they allow up to 4 gigabytes, which is pretty generous. And you literally just upload it into theirs. Now, you can also upload it to like YouTube and then embed it. So you just have to have the link that you upload to YouTube. If you do that, you probably want to do an unlisted YouTube video. That way it's not out there on your public channel, because obviously you want people to register to see that, right? So, but you can do both ways, if you're wondering. Phil, for a PC, do you have an app that you'd recommend to read your script while looking at the screen? I don't want to do a whole iPad to glass with camera at this time. I want to use my built-in camera. Yes. So there are some softwares that what they will do, Phil, is they will put make it possible for you to try to put the teleprompters, I think you're referring to, put the teleprompter as close to the camera as possible. So yes, those are available. I don't know that I can give you a specific recommendation, because that's where I first started using them, was just having them on my computer, using my computer camera. But I can't think of any off the top of my head, but they're absolutely out there. I would just Google teleprompter for Windows, and you'll probably find free ones, and just test them. He said that's the word I couldn't come up with. Yes, teleprompter is what you're looking for. All right, guys, let's do some takeaways. What are some takeaways from joining us here today? What are your takeaways? Let me know. Is it, Jonathan, I feel more encouraged to go do a webinar? Or Jonathan, when I heard you had 4 people on your first webinar, I believe I can do one now. That's right. I had 10 people sign up, 4 people show up, and 2 left before the end. It was a great learning experience. And we all got to start somewhere. And here's the great thing. I taught them like there were 300 in the room. And those 4 people didn't even know the difference. They didn't know that there was only 4 of them, because most webinar softwares do not show how many attendees are watching. All right. Meg says takeaway is YouTube, unlisted and embed. Yes, absolutely. You can do that. And it's free. Any other quick takeaways? If not, we will wrap this up. Phil's takeaway, I need to look into Webinar Kit. And yes, your story of not having a smash success from day one gives me hope. Yes. And guess what? It's so much better to practice in front of 4 people than practice in front of 300. So don't wait till your audience gets to be a couple thousand to practice in front of them. Practice when there's 4, right? I'd rather have a complete fail in front of 4 people than 400. All right. So practice in public. Jenny, I love the webinar info. Super excited about the speed up function. Yeah, go check that out. Fred's was Webinar Kit for $67. Faye, you always explain tech the best way, which is so helpful since it's such a struggle for me. Yeah, that's what I try to do. I try to make my goal to keep things as simple as possible, because I need them to be simple. If it's complex, I don't use it. So I look for simple for myself. Says I'm starting with 0 audience on multiple topics. Your story is inspiring. Yeah. Just get started. I mean, it's just great practice, right? I mean, even though there was only 4 people on my first webinar, that was still an opportunity to influence, right? I mean, you never know who you're talking to. It could be your next client. It could be somebody who sticks with you for a long time. It's still an opportunity to share your passion with somebody. So don't despise small beginnings. Maybe that's the takeaway today, because we all start small. We all start small. And like I said in my book, we all create in obscurity. I mean, when you blog, you're publishing to no one. When you start a podcast, you're publishing to no one. When you're doing a webinar, you're doing it for 4 people. That's just how it goes. That's how I got started. And so don't despise those small beginnings, because it's the small things that can become the big things, right? Awesome. Karen says, I never dreamed I'd be doing this. You're giving me confidence. Thank you. You absolutely can, Karen. You absolutely can. All right, guys. Thanks for being here today. I hope you all have an awesome day. And for those of you coming to Your Message Matters Live, I'll see you soon. We're going to be together in just about a week. I'm going to be getting more info out. You're going to be getting some emails from me, communication, both virtual and in person. And if you don't have a ticket, why not? You need to hop over to yourmessagematterslive.com, because we're going to be doing way more than this. We're going to be 2 whole days of mapping out your business, and you're going to walk away with a profit plan. So if you don't have your ticket yet, go to yourmessagematterslive.com for 2 more days. You have the ability to get a ticket. All right. Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a great day. We'll talk with you later.
It'd be easier for me